This video describes how to create teams of users in an example Cradle project, so the users can collaborate effectively, and share information efficiently. This video is in 6 parts, some use slides and others are Cradle demonstrations. We will consider why user groups are important for larger projects, decide how to group users for an example project, decide how to control access to information, create the team structure in Cradle, see how to define password rules in Cradle, and then create the users' login accounts. A Cradle database can manage all of a project's information, and make it available to all engineers. This is good, because it allows the engineers to collaborate easily. But if all of the data and users are in one group, it will be difficult to control which users should have read-write access to different parts of the data, which users should have read-only access, and to limit access by other users. Dividing users and data into groups will help us to control access in the project. The data local to each group, whatever we decide it will be, can easily be accessed differently to data in other groups. Similarly, the users in each group will have a related purpose, so their access to each set of data will be similar. We can ensure that data is visible throughout the project by allowing each group read-only access to the data in other groups. Cradle's baselines can manage information that has been formally approved in the project. We can ensure that all groups have read-only access to these baselines. We have decided to use groups to manage users and data. There are many ways to organize these user groups, such as one group for each subsystem or component, or engineering discipline, or for each physical working location. In this example, we will create groups for systems, hardware, and software. The Cradle term for a group of users is a team. We will create teams called systems, hardware, and software. Every item in a database has an owner, which is one of a user's username, a team name, or the project baselines. Items in baselines are owned by the special team name, project. Cradle's default access rules are: a user has RW, read-write, access to items he or she owns, and a user has RO, read-only, access to items owned by other users in his or her team. So by default, a user can only access a limited set of items. This is deliberate, so that when defining a user's access rights, we are always adding to the default rights that Cradle provides. We can extend the access rules by adding privileges in users' login accounts. For our example, we want a user to have 5 access rights: RW access to items he or she owns, this is a default rule; RW access to items owned by other users in his or her team, RO access to items owned by his or her team, RO access to items in the current project baseline, and RO access to items owned by other teams, and their users. To see the effect of these access rights, we use a picture to show the project's organization structure: the user and his or her data, data owned by the user's colleagues in the same team, the user's team and its data, the project, and its baseline data, data owned by other teams, and by the users in these teams. The user automatically has RW access to his or her own data. To have RW access to team colleagues' data, we add the privileged team user RW. To have RO access to the team's data, we add the privileged team RO. To have RO access to data in the project's current baseline, we add the privileged project RO. And finally, to have RO access to data owned by other teams, and by the users in these teams, we add the privileged team bypass. Our example project has 3 teams: systems, hardware, and software, below the project team. Start Workbench and log into our example database as the superuser manager. Teams are part of the project schema, so select the Project tab. Then select Project Setup. Teams are part of the user settings, so set options to user settings. Select Teams. This shows the default team, project. To create teams below project, select it and click New. Enter the name of the first new team, Systems, and click OK. The new team appears, indented, below project. The indenting shows the hierarchy of teams. There are no limits on the width or depth of this hierarchy. Create the other two teams in the same way. Ensure the project team is selected, so the new team is created below it, not as a sub-team of a team that we have just created. Then enter the team name and click OK. Optionally select each new team and record a description. Descriptions can be useful when changes need to be made to the schema. This completes adding new teams. Select Save to save the schema, and OK to close the Project Setup tool. Select Exit in the Home tab to close Workbench. Cradle has many options to control passwords. For this example we do not need any rules, but we apply 2 rules, just to show how to do it: a minimum password length of 5 characters, and that a user's password may not be the same as his or her username. Log into the example project as the super user manager. Password options are in the schema, so select Project Setup in the Project tab. Passwords are part of user settings, so set options to user settings. Select passwords to choose which rules to enforce. There are many password rules to choose from, including minimum lengths, required characters, aging, histories. This is how to enforce a minimum password length of 5. This rule guarantees that a user cannot use their username as a password. Password rules are now set. Select Save and OK to save the schema and close Project Setup. Select Exit in the Home tab to close Workbench. In the final part of the setup of users, teams and access rules, we will create the user profiles. Each team will have an engineer user and a team leader. The team leader will have the same rights as the engineer, and also RW access to information owned by the team, and the ability to review and approve information. The user profiles, passwords and teams are shown in the table. We will define 2 roles, called engineer and leader, so that the user profiles are created quickly and consistently. A Cradle database has a set of login accounts. Cradle calls these user profiles. Each user profile has a username, a password, and some other details, including a set of privileges that control what the user can do, and which information he or she can access. We will create the user profiles for the engineer and team leader users, in each of the systems, hardware, and software teams in our example project. Only some users can create user profiles. The super user manager can't create new users. So we log into our database as manager. User profiles are created by the User Setup tool, in the Project tab. Select New to create the first new user. Enter the username for the new user sys_eng, and select OK. Enter a password for the new user into both fields. The password is case-sensitive. The red box around the second field will disappear when the field's contents are the same. Select the user's team from the drop-down list, in this case, Systems. Optionally enter a description for this user. Select Privileges, to set the privileges for the new user. There are many privileges that can be given to the user. Select Help for an explanation of what they do. One way to add privileges is to choose tasks that the user needs to do from this drop-down list, and select Add to add the privileges needed for that task. This user will create and delete items in the database, so select this task and click Add. This user will create and delete cross-references between items, so select this task and click Add. This user will use the document loader tool to capture documents into the database, so select this task and click Add. This user will import or export information from the database, so select this task and click Add. As this user will publish reports or documents, select this task and click Add. As this user will start discussions on database items, select this task and click Add. This user will create his or her own queries, views, forms or other definitions, so add the Create Defs privilege. This user will publish formal documents, so add the Formal Doc privilege. This user will exchange schedules and plans between Cradle and MS project, so add the privilege Planning. Select OK. Select Apply to save the new syseng user profile. We can save the settings in this profile as a role, so we can apply the role to other, similar, user profiles and create them quickly and consistently. Select Save Role. Enter the name engineer for this role, then select OK to save it. We can create the user profiles for the hardware and software engineers using the new engineer role. Select New to create the next user. Enter the username for the new user HW_ENG, and select OK. Click Select Role, and choose the newly created role, Engineer, to initialize the new user profile. Enter the password into both fields. Set the team to be hardware. Change the description. The new user's privileges have come from the engineer role. Select Apply to save the new user profile. Select New to create the last engineer user. Enter the username for the new user SW_ENG, and select OK. Click Select Role, and choose the newly created role, Engineer, to initialize the new user profile. Enter the password into both fields. Set the team to software. Change the description. The new user's privileges have come from the engineer role. Select Apply to save the new user profile. The engineer's user profiles have been created. We now create the team leader user profiles, use the engineer role to create the first team leader, then add extra privileges. Save this as a new role called Leader, and then create the other team leaders using the new role. Select New to create the first team leader. Enter the username for the new user sys_LDR, and select OK. Click Select Role, and choose the role, Engineer, to initialize the new user profile. Enter the password into both fields. Change the description. The new user's privileges have come from the engineer role. Add the team leader privilege. Give the team leader the ability to create new users in his or her team. Give the team leader the ability to review information created in his or her team. Give the ability to propose changes to baseline information, and to revise these proposed changes, and to review them, and to complete their reviews. Also, give the ability to review information on behalf of engineers in his or her team. Give the ability to propose how to implement agreed changes to baseline information, and the ability to revise these proposals, and to review them, and to complete these reviews. Give the team leader the ability to open, close and restore baselines. This is to allow the possibility that each team may want to create baselines. Give the team leader the ability to submit information for review on behalf of team members who may be absent. All privileges have been set, so select OK. Select Apply to save the new user profile. Select Save Role to save as a new role. Save as a role called Leader. We will use this new role to create team leader user profiles for the hardware and software teams. Select New and create the team leader for the hardware team using the new role, Leader. Set the user's password, team and description. All of the new team leader's privileges have been set from the role, Leader. Select Apply to save. Select New and create the final user profile, the team leader for the software team, using the role, Leader. Set the user's password, team and description. Privileges are set by the role. Select Apply to save the user profile. All user profiles are ready. Select OK to close the user setup tool and close Workbench. Thank you for watching this video. We hope it has been helpful. For more information, please visit our website, or contact us using the details on the screen.